What's up, YouTube? Joe Sargent here. And today, I know I always say we have a special guest, but this time, well, first of all, you may already know him because he has over 1 million followers already. But you may know him for his work that he does with reporting on Ukraine. You may know him for his expertise in military tactics and history. I know him as an ally, a fellow ally of Cars for Ukraine for the campaign I was working on and still working with for the wintertime. And his name is Preston Stewart. And I'm not going to give a big intro here because I just want to hear what he has to say. Preston Stewart, thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Doug, thank you for the invitation, the incredible introduction there, man. Very kind.
Well, listen, tell us about what what brought you to your military history, of course, your service, but what brought you to do the type of work that you do here on YouTube?
Yeah, man. So the full life. We'll sum it up quick here. I was a sophomore in high school during the 9/11 attacks. So like a lot of folks in our generation, that was kind of the catalyst to pursue military service. Was fortunate to get into West Point, so I attended college there and then commissioned as a field artillery officer in 2009. Went to the 101st Airborne Division and then
Mm.
a couple trips to Afghanistan in 2010-11, down in Kandahar, and then 2012 up in Lagman province in the Northeast. Left active duty in 14, then spent a little bit more time in the Guard and Reserves down in Texas and then up here in Tennessee, and just left the military about a year ago. I think it was last February, wrapped up. So it was 15-ish years with a little bit of time off in the IRR there. And great experience, start to finish. Recommend it to anybody that's even thinking about it a little bit. But then probably, let's see, be about 4 or 5 years ago now, I started making content around military history. So always been fascinated with World War II specifically, and started making short TikTok videos just because it was interesting and new, and I didn't really do much with social media. And it was a lot of fun. Got to meet a community of people that were interested in the same things. And when I kept, my background is in international relations and terrorism studies, so that's an interest of mine. I just didn't know how that would ever be a career field. My wife and I were here in Tennessee. Yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
To say we're starting up a little business here in Tennessee, so I had some time on my hands, and this is about the time the war in Ukraine kicked off. So the full scale invasion in 22. So I started trying to explain some of what was happening to an audience. If you go back to right when the war started, there was a huge amount of people trying to understand what is a javelin, what does air defense mean, what is the difference between a missile and a rocket, or artillery and mortars, and I just tried to do my best to explain a little bit in kind of simple terms what that was, and there was an audience for it. And then that has kind of just grown from there. I've tried to dabble into explaining and reporting on other conflicts. The majority of the work is still around Ukraine, just given the nature of the scale of that fight. But that's how we got here today. It was an unexpected career path. Kind of slowly got here over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, but pretty fortunate to be able to do this day in and day out.
When did you figure out that you were a good communicator? Is this something that it has always been? Is this something that you were um, kind of springboards from being an officer, being a leader? And what was your rank when you left?
My rank,
Yeah,
major. Got out as
major.
major.
Okay. So what? Yeah. What? When did you realize that this was something that you could do? Like this, you were a good communicator. Was it just people started viewing, people started watching, or was that something that you kind of had before?
Never really paid much attention to it. The metrics on social media, when people, I mean, it's right there in your face. People watch
Yeah.
or they don't, and there's you can chalk some up to it's the algorithm or this, that, or the other thing. But over a long term, it kind of comes down to whether or not folks are interested and whether or not you're communicating whatever you're talking about effectively. So there's definitely a for better or for worse, there's kind of a scoreboard in this line of work, and you get graded in real time I never really thought about myself as being much of a communicator.
Mm.
I do think a bunch of it goes back to the military in terms of being able to sum something up quickly because you get that order, right? And there you've got 30 minutes to present this thing like you actually know what it says and you've never seen it before in your life. You got to figure out how to relay that information confidently and quickly. So I'm sure some of it comes from that.
I know
But
that well.
honestly, it's a volume of content, man. Every single day is practice
Yeah.
and trying to get a little better with every iteration.
There's a whole lot that I'd love to talk about with you. I mean, your knowledge of history, um, and your kind of understanding of the tactics being used on many different fronts. Like you're talking about, Iran before and preeminently now, like where we may be going. I've seen you talk about how to take tankers or certain things that like I wasn't in the Navy, certain things that I wasn't in the Air Force, but you seem to have a grasp of all of it. I want to get into all of that. But before we do, I have a feeling that whatever informs you on all of that also informs you on what's happening in Ukraine. How do you get the the news? How do you get the knowledge? Where are you hearing what you're hearing and knowing what's going on so well on the ground in Ukraine? And you live in America.
Yeah. It's it takes a while, and this is one of the challenges with I'm very comfortable right now discussing Ukraine day in and day out. With when other things happen, it takes me a little while to get a comfort level built up because there's a number of sources that at first glance might seem reliable and maybe they are today and they're not tomorrow. And
Mm-hmm.
others that just they look good. If you don't know what you're looking for, it comes across as very professional, reliable, and maybe neutral, and it's not. And we just don't.
Yeah.
Syria is a great example. Holy cow. Syria has just been a mess for the last 10 plus years. And even now, something will happen, and it's very hard to sift through what are the reliable sources and who is to lack, for lack of a better term, pushing a bit of an agenda or maybe only presenting a certain side. Syria is a mess. Ukraine, just the nature of spending so much time on it, I've been able to kind of sift through which accounts on Telegram, for instance. A lot of Russians and Ukrainians use Telegram. So there's
Mm.
a handful of accounts over there that are varying degrees of accurate and responsive. And then the same thing goes, a lot on Twitter. There's a lot more kind of Ukrainian or pro-Ukrainian accounts there providing updates. And then as the war has gone on, we've seen a lot of units stand up their own kind of internal reporting and they'll
Oh,
provide
see,
updates from their section of the front.
outstanding. In your assessment, where are they? Now that we've cut off a lot of funding and we have an administration that has been, quite frankly, antagonistic towards the Ukrainian effort, where are they in your assessment in this fight?
So I, just got back from Ukraine a couple weeks ago. It was my first time over, and the focus of that trip was spending time with soldiers, and they're not paying attention to that. I mean, this will resonate. You'll know what I'm talking about. They're
Oh
focused
yeah,
on what they're doing day in and day out. All
yep.
right. So um, I wish, and I think a lot of them wish that the U.S. was providing more material support. That's not the case. So they're moving on.
So
They're
you
not
move on.
waiting for it. They're not holding out hope. They're not monitoring the fluctuations like you and I might, and a lot of us here in the United States. They're just not. So in terms of how they've adapted. The vast majority of casualties right now are being inflicted by drones. Almost all of those are being produced inside of Ukraine. Now, there's certainly some bottlenecks in the manufacturing of those, and there's some
Mm.
components they're still getting from overseas. But, the United States effectively shut off all military aid about a year ago. We are still providing some. We are selling some to our European allies who then provide it to Ukraine. Long range interceptors is something that Ukraine does not have. They don't have a domestic answer for that right now. But in terms of along the front, they have turned it into a battlefield where drones are the primary weapon system, and they are the ones producing those. They would be more effective, they would be more lethal, and have a better chance at ending this war on favorable terms if we provided more aid. But they are adapting with that not being the case right now.
Without long-term interceptors, I can only imagine the damage that can be done erratically, right? And what I mean by that is not that Russia has this amazing tech or can send over a lot of ballistics. But whenever they do send, whatever they do decide to put a barrage out, it must be hard to stop. Like you've got to have some sort of intel in order to stop it, or else it's hard to stop. What are they doing in that kind of defense and in spite of or instead of those interceptors?
Well, they do still have interceptors. It's one of those things where everybody wants more around the world. And personally, not to vent, but a frustration of mine is let's build more and sell them to whoever wants them.
Yeah,
Great for the U.S. economy. Let's churn these Patriot interceptors out at breakneck speed. And it's more complicated than that, but I feel like maybe we could do more in that realm. So last night, for example, about 550 munitions were fired into Ukraine. 71 of those were missiles. The missiles, generally speaking, need these advanced interceptors to shoot them down.
Yeah.
Ukraine did shoot down a fair number, but I want to say probably 20 or so still got through and impacted power generation across the country. They're trying to freeze Ukraine out right now, sub-zero temperatures. The drones are more easily intercepted with other things. So Ukraine does have a number of domestic solutions they've created, either low-cost interceptors or aircraft. I mean, they're shooting these things down from helicopters and fixed-wing jets. If it was just drones, Ukraine could maintain this indefinitely.
Yeah.
But those missiles cannot be stopped, from what I can tell, by anything other than what the West is providing.
And that's where my mind goes when I think about that. Like I don't see how that happens. But even the fact that they're doing whatever it takes. Airstrikes. So when you talk about fixed wing planes, where are they with that? Because that's something that I know America has too many of, an abundant, not too many, compared to the rest of the earth. With our abundance of of Air Force is not like everywhere else. Where are they with those planes? New World.
Ukraine, for the most part, is getting old stuff right now. They've got a little bit of their kind of call it Soviet inventory, some of the older stuff. They have a couple dozen F-16s that were provided by some of our allies, and they've been working on purchasing some French and Swedish jets over the course of the next few years. So those countries have committed to large purchases in the hundreds. That would be great for Ukraine. The challenge is it's not really a matter of them needing more aircraft today. It wouldn't hurt, but the nature of this fight is such that they're very rarely being utilized along the front. We're seeing a lot of the term is glide bomb attacks by Russia. And they're dropping bombs, but it's more like a launch. And they're flying 40, 50, 60 kilometers before impacting. And they're guided systems. But the reason they're doing that is because they need to have this standoff range or they're going to get shot down.
Right.
When they get anywhere near the front, there's so much air defense that it's suicidal to put a jet right there over some of these areas. So Ukraine they are conducting airstrikes along the front at times, relatively minimal. The fixed wing platforms that they're getting are primarily being used to intercept drones at this point. Russia's not flying aircraft into Ukrainian airspace. And it's not because of the Ukrainian jets. It's because of the Patriot systems and others on the ground. So more jets would be helpful. It'd be good. There's also a long training pipeline there. It takes a long time to train somebody to fly into one of these platforms, and that's not easy. So, yeah, I mean, they could use more. I'd like them to have more. Right now, I don't think that would be a priority, and it wouldn't. If they got 500 more jets tomorrow with the pilots, it wouldn't drastically affect how the war plays out.
Right. Just the training alone. And training from even the people who already can fly are going to need some sort of a little bit of training for the newer jets, especially how many of them are so computer operated rather than aerodynamic lift, right? So we'll get into. I love talking about the machines, But yeah, the difference between the old school aerodynamic lift, like you could glide, to where now is if you don't have a computer, it's not even shaped to fly. I'm sure the training for that is different. But that brings me to this. That air defense. How are these trucks for Ukraine, cars for Ukraine? This was the ally ship that me and you have in common. We were raising money for them. They are taking these and transforming them into anti-aircraft, munitions. They're taking them and they're using them for just about everything you can think of. Can we talk about are those trucks and things like that, the main things that they need when we're talking about anti-air munitions and helping to keep them safe up above head?
Yeah, I mean, to be blunt, vehicles are the lifeblood of the Ukrainian military right now. There are so many drones over the battlefield. When you get, 15 to 20 kilometers from the front, everything is getting hit. Every target is getting hit on both sides. So what we're seeing and what we've seen now for about a year is some areas you just cannot move in a vehicle for the most part. Yeah. And you're having to move dismounted to get to forward locations, which of course a soldier walking through a field is in trouble when a drone comes overhead. Evacuating casualties. There was an area in the south, Pokrovsk, that came it's still under pretty heavy Russian bombardment. And to evacuate casualties, they were having to put soldiers on kind of wheelbarrows, would be it's not quite a wheelbarrow, but like a 3-wheeled trolley of sorts, and walk them out 10, 15 miles to get to an evacuation point. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Now, the vehicles are targeted when they drive in there, but they're moving in, 70, 80 miles an hour, flying with electronic warfare jammers, with drone teams standing by to just try to get that 1 or 2 soldiers out, resupply the guys at the front, bring the wounded out. Without that, people are dying, to be blunt. And yeah, vehicles still get hit. Car for Ukraine does an excellent job making sure these things are functional. They add additional armor protection, which right now against drones, it doesn't need to be that thick. Just a little bit of added steel in the doors can save the lives of these soldiers. The unfortunate part is sometimes these trucks get used 1 or 2 times and they get blown up. And it sucks because you know how long it takes to raise the funds to get one of these provided.
Yep.
But if that one truck gets blown up on the first mission, it's likely that it saved 2 people's lives, maybe 4, maybe 6.
The incredible footage they get of these guys, flying in there at 70, saving 7 lives, turning around and flying out in a truck that we use to carry somebody's couch when we're moving. It's just amazing what they're using these for and how they're using them. So I just want to tell everybody out there, this is not I don't know how else to say it. I just don't want it to sound frivolous. Like Car for Ukraine is saving lives. I'm still partnering with them. You can still go and donate, even if I don't know, it was the Christmas tree campaign. I forgot what we called it. Is that campaign still going on, or it's still open? That link still works. Go there. And of course, I had a little competition going on with people, and I lost that competition, but you still came through, YouTube. You still came through. We need more. They need more. It saves lives. It's not a stunt. It's not, honestly, it's the very, very least we could do to help people over there who are fighting for their country, and their lives and democracy. And speaking of that, before you go, could we talk a little bit about this democracy? Being that you are one of the few people that I've been able to meet in their allyship here that is from America, on a domestic front, do you have thoughts? Do you rather not talk about those thoughts? I know that you normally don't say too much unless it has something to do with the military per se, about Greenland or something like that. We can get into that, but just where we are, it's a very unique time looking at what I call fascism approaching in America. Do you have thoughts? Do you think differently about that? Without saying right or left, what's your thoughts about where we are here?
Yeah, so I generally don't. Most of the videos on the channel are pretty international focused. For the most part, that's a privilege we've had in the United States. I
Yeah,
think what's happening in Ukraine is incredibly important to the United States. But you do not have YouTubers in Ukraine making videos about conflicts in other countries because they
right.
are in a life or death struggle day in and day out.
Yeah,
We've been fortunate, spoiled, you and I and other Americans, in that we have the ability to look at these things because things have been so good for us here,
yeah,
and still are, by comparison. I tend to not get into a lot of domestic issues just because it's not my forte. It's not an area that I feel I have an expertise. I've got a lot of opinions, just like everyone else, but I think folks come to my channel looking for more of an international and national security focus. That said, I've mentioned a handful of times that it's frustrating to say the least what's happening now in the United States. It feels like we are more divisive than ever, and I hate that. There's no positive here. We've got to find a way to kind of mend some of these burnt bridges, and it's been depressing. More days than not. Of
yeah.
course, the last year or so, seeing how much there's so much we can disagree upon when it comes to policy and procedures and all sorts of stuff. And it feels like right now there's a hatred there between Americans that I'm not ready for. I don't know where the hell this came from, but it's scary and sad. Um, yeah, it's the kind of stuff you expect. Again, looking elsewhere, it's the kind of thing we see playing out in other countries.
Right.
To see any of it here that is even, I mean, and this, of course, people will debate this, but like whether it's 1% similar or 99% similar, the fact that we're even having that conversation is concerning.
Used to be unfathomable. And I think the idea that it is or used to be unfathomable is why it's so hard to accept that it's happening, right? Because it's like, there's no possible way. No, it's not what we think it is. No, it's not. And I think that just that inability to see it for what it is, and I say it like this, and I'll bring it back to the rest of the world. In other conflicts that you watch or that you've paid attention to, the reality of the citizens and what they've seen, you'll see at the drop of a hat, somebody says, hey, we're going to do this or this. And citizens rush out. Wait a minute. No, we don't. We're not touching that. We're rioting or we're protesting immediately because most other countries have seen the consequence of it, right? And they know that it's like France. You change a street sign and they're in the road protesting because they know what it's like to have a bomb drop on them. Same thing in many other places that have just seen a sort of conflict that we've never been able to see. Their reaction time is so much quicker, and not to say that they've been able to stave off everything, but I think that comfortability that we've had with American exceptionalism or with just being the richest or just having that our position in the UN, so many things, whatever it is, has kind of dulled the senses to our reaction time. Is this something would you agree?
Yeah, I think numb, maybe a little bit, complacent, right? We've got a lot of things going really well for us, man. A
Yeah,
lot of
we
things.
still do.
It
Still
still
do.
do, yeah. Especially like comparatively, I mean, even today, for all the challenges that we have, and no doubt there are plenty, our standard of living is the best that it's been for anyone around the world throughout history. I mean, maybe somebody can fact check that, but it seems pretty good. So we end up finding, in my opinion, things.
Well, except for healthcare, but
Yeah,
but
as somebody navigating that right now, my God.
right. Me too. Me and you both, man.
I have no idea what the solution is there. That's way over my head, but whatever we're doing right now is not the move because it is.
It's not. It's not the move.
It feels a little bit like we're, and not to downplay grievances and challenges and people that are suffering here in the United States. I mean, my own neighbors here in Tennessee, no doubt. But it feels like we have maybe manufactured problems and made them to be more than they are in the grand scheme of things. I don't know what the solution is to that because I understand it. When things get too easy, you try to. I feel like it's human nature. You try to find what is the thing that we can still be angry about, and maybe losing sight of the big picture.
I'm 100% agree with you. I'm so glad to have you say that, because I don't know if other people know that what you think on those things, and I think maybe that may have been a question some people would like to know. But we only have a few more minutes, and there's a story that you brought up a few days ago that I think absolutely needs to be uncovered and pushed. What is going on with Ubiquiti?
What is
What a
going on
mess,
with
man.
Ubiquiti?
So it's a U.S. hardware and software company that makes a lot of antennas, is probably the best way to put it. And long story short, Russia is using them today, like some of their most advanced stuff. And the Russian military is pretty heavily reliant on that technology.
Wow.
It's been banned. They're not supposed to be able to do that. But this Hunter Brook, I hope I didn't get that wrong. Hunter Brook, I believe, is the organization that uncovered this, and they started calling the distributors. So the company is not selling to Russia. They sell through a network of distributors that, they buy them for X, mark them up, and then sell them and provide services around the world. Um, this Hunterbrook group was calling the distributors and just straight up saying, like, we are the Russian military. We're a unit. We need to buy some. And time and again, they were like, yeah, no problem. Where do you want them? How can we get them to you? And even one in the United States was kind of gave them the way to work through sanctions. So it's a
Wow.
mess. I don't know what the legal ramifications of that look like, but it's a U.S. owned company. The owner of it, actually, multi-billionaire, owns the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA. So you're starting to see a little pressure. I think maybe I'm just in a bubble, so I see it, but it looks like there's starting to be some pressure on Ubiquiti and on the NBA to actually do something about this.
How about this? We could provide some pressure. We've done that before, political drain. That if you're an NBA fan or a Grizzlies fan out there, maybe there's some pressure you could help, or maybe there's someone you could tell about that.
Now,
Because
Doug, I should say this is all allegedly, right? This is an investigation. It's what they've turned up. In my opinion, it looks pretty clear cut. I mean,
Okay.
calling the distributors and they're publishing those recordings. So it looks to me like that's what happened. That's their allegation. I don't think the company said anything.
well, that's the pressure. Say something. We can pressure you till you
Say something,
There
because
we go.
the fact that there's a possibility that we're having to raise money independently to get trucks to Ukraine, but Russia can come and buy antennas. I'm not okay with that. Yeah, if they can get it, something that Ukraine can't get, I'm not okay with that. How about that? That's all I'm saying. So, Grizzlies fans out there, you heard it. You heard it here first. Allegedly. That's all I'm gonna say. Man, thank you for that reporting. I saw that and I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And the balls on these guys. The balls on these guys to say, we're from the Russian military. What do you got for us? I got you. Give me a second.
let me call
That
my
was the
boss.
red flag. That was the red flag. Yeah.
It's not even like the handshake or the side deal. It's like, we're here to do this. No problem. I got you. Yeah. Wow. Blew my mind. Man, I wish I had the full hour with you. I wanted to get into Syria. I wanted to talk about the Greenland flop. I wanted to talk about much more than we did, but I think it was very important to get into what we did, what's happening on the ground, why this allyship is so important. And I'll let you have the last word to my audience as to why this is important to you.
I appreciate that, Doug. Appreciate the conversation. Appreciate the invite. It's been great being with you, man. And to the audience, yeah, I mean, it's incredibly important. It's I think really cool to be able to play a part in something like this. I know that you've had the opportunity to see some of these videos and statements, Doug, from the Ukrainian soldiers. It means the absolute world, and it's I think once in a lifetime opportunity to be a part of something that's important and that impactful. So, Doug, thank you for everything you're doing. And again, thank you very much for the invitation today.
My friend, I hope we can do it again and talk some more equipment, talk more world news. Thank you so much for everything. And there you have it. You guys check out Preston Stewart. He is a wealth of knowledge and just a good guy. I appreciate you coming, man.
Thank you, Doug.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're gonna pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads, it's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.